Hello everyone, welcome to a new video for XRP, BNB and SPX 6900 price prediction based on Elliott Wave analysis. We're gonna start with XRP on the all-time history here, where we have an impulse 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5, finished wave 1 or wave A, followed by a correction, complex structure W, X and Y, where the wave Y is a triangle here, and followed by an impulse 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5 to finish a potential wave 1. And then, of course, we're looking at a correction for wave 2 over there, still unfolding, of course, for XRP. And we might still see, of course, something for lower prices internally or on the micro level, which we're going to see, of course, very, very soon. Now, basically, the 0.38 fib level is not hit yet, and that's why, of course, I'm still looking for something for lower here, that it might still be unfolding for XRP. If we dive inside it here, we can see, of course, on the 4 hours chart that we have, of course, a potential impulse finished there after, of course, the wave 5, and we got a kind of like a triangle here, finishing a wave 4 and a wave 5 as an impulse, and followed by a correction. Now, this correction, which is very complicated. Now we have, of course, kind of like a wave A in a diagonal, leading diagonal wave B. And if you're looking here for a potential wave C, of course, you cannot really take the whole wick toward the downside. It can be that you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 as a potential ending diagonal here, finishing up, of course, for a wave C. However, a signal of strength is not yet given really remarkably. So I would like to see, of course, the price taking the high here after a potential impulse. In case if we have an impulse here on the 1 hour chart, I would like to see, of course, a 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and a 5, meaning as confirmation for higher prices. You would like to see, of course, this price taken at the top over there, which it can be a potential of a 1, 2. However, because, of course, a potential of continuation for lower prices here, it can still have one more low, of course, before starting to push toward the upside, finishing up, of course, a zigzag here potentially for wave 1, and then wave 2, and then wave 3, and then 4 and a 5. That it might still be unfolding for XRP, and our blue box here for the 0.38 can still be, of course, very likely to be taken around the $1.58. If we take a look also at the KGT 1 minute chart time frame here, we can see there is a divergence a little bit here with the bullish signals, but the price, the corrective price that we see here and the complex sideways that we are looking at is signaling, of course, a correction after a very massive drop here, of course, impulsively, meaning we might continue simply one more low for XRP, especially that there is already a convergence within the bearish signal there coming in, and so adding more pressure for XRP. So I would say one more low for XRP is very likely before we push for higher. I'm expecting also after this low to see something, of course, pushing for higher as a recover for XRP as well. If we move to BNB here, for BNB as well on the daily, we have first, of course, our impulse here as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 finished, and we start to see the reaction toward the downside as a potential A, B, and a C. Now we have, of course, a leading diagonal that it has started already, the wave A, and I'm looking at least here for the 0.38 as well for BNB, or at least 0.23, sorry, in case we are in a wave 4 in the all-time history here. I'm gonna adjust this. So basically here we go, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 for wave 3, and wave 4 might still be hitting the 0.23 at $349 and around it. ABC can be very likely, and then of course pushing for another impulse toward the upside in a wave 5. If we dive inside it on the 1 hour chart, we can see, of course, after this diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, we start to see, of course, a little bit of signal of strength here, but of course we don't have yet a very clear push toward the upside, and that because, of course, if you are in a 1, 2 and another 1, 2 where you didn't hit yet the 0.886, but you took clearly the 0.786 here, and it has repeated again. And so we repeat it. BNB saw, of course, the 0.786 twice here, signaling, of course, weakness and is still looking potentially for lower and probably even to take the low, meaning ending up this with three waves toward the upside. However, you cannot really count this something impulsive. Definitely, it is very, very complex and corrective. Therefore, I'm still looking probably here for something to unfold as a complex structure can take the low, and it can finish up here as a bigger wave A, bigger wave B as an expanding flat, and having a wave C toward the upside here for a BNB. So this is what I'm looking for a wave B, potentially taking the low one more time in an expanding flat, and this might play, of course, your wave 2. Don't forget that you have already the diagonal 5 waves, and in case, of course, we get a wave 2 here as a potential expanding flat, or by taking the low, of course, and then wave C toward the upside, we might drop down, of course, later on in a major wave C again for this correction to hit, of course, the 0.23, as we saw, of course, on the daily. If we take a look also closer on the 3 minute for BNB as well on KGT, we see, of course, a lot of pressure still getting in for BNB. We see a lot of convergence with the price and the signal, and we don't see yet, of course, any kind of divergence. Now, this bullish signal is playing a little bit, but of course, I mean, it can be a divergence. Yeah, it can be a big divergence, but don't forget that this next signal given later, of course, has been invalidated by these bearish signal and these lower prices. Now, basically, I would say even on the 1 minute chart, there is a sell signal there. I don't see, of course, yet any kind of like impulse that it might suggest something really to push for higher than this. So I'm still expecting something to take the low actually on BNB. And of course, yeah, no signal of impulsive wave 1, 2 here has been seen. Definitely, this is a three-wave structure. So yeah, nothing yet, of course, guys. Basically, in case that this is a triangle, it can, of course, unfold something higher a little bit, but it can be, of course, something very still corrective in W, X, and a Y. Potentially here can be, of course, something like that, and then pushing for lower again. And that because, of course, again, the structure even from here is not showing strength, not just from there, but also from here. We don't see any kind of strength, especially if this is a wave 5. It is a three wave. Yeah, so nothing is impulsive properly there. 886 also taken from there, so you cannot really count on a 1-2 again, and another 1-2 with another 886. So that's horrible, guys. Of course, all these 886 will suggest, of course, to be taken sooner or later. Yep, so this is regarding BNB. Let's see SPX 6900 as well. For SPX, we're looking at the all-time history as well. And we're looking for an impulsive move from SPX here, where we have 1-2, 1-2, 3, 4, and a 5. Finished wave 3 and a wave 4 given. And if in case that this is a wave 4, it has already reached the 0.23 here at 0.40 almost, but not taken yet 100%. So yeah, I suggest that it should be taken clearly, and also that we have a confluence here with wave 2. So in case that this is an impulse wave 1 and you're still in a wave 2 there for an extension, or at least an ending diagonal, something like that for a wave 5, meaning this wave 5 might unfold for later on as an extension. Well, if this happens, of course, this is your wave 2 right now playing over there. So if we dive deeper inside it, we can see that both targets are not yet taken. 0.39 cents will be much more recommended, of course, for a push toward the upside. On the lower time frame, definitely this is a kind of a correction, as a W, X, and a wave Y can be finished already there, and even with lower prices, of course, the wave Y can extend. Now, if this is an impulse 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, or a diagonal, well, you cannot call it a diagonal. Wave 4 did not interfere with the zone 1, meaning can be called an impulse, and you might have an ABC there. And can this be an impulse? Well, yes, can be, but normally, I mean, this it cannot be really considered as a wave 1, especially that you have here kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 interfering with the zone 1. It can be only playing as an expanding diagonal there as a wave 1. 2, and then wave 3, and this is your wave 4 and a 5. But of course, to mark here is that you cannot interfere with this zone 1 as, of course, as an impulse, in case we're still looking for 4 and a 5. Currently, if we dive inside it a little bit, you have kind of like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 on the 1 hour chart here. But after this, well, we got a very, very long sideways and a very, very complex structure here. And I don't see really something very impulsive over there, especially that you have everything overlapping again and again. And we simply see a very complex structure again, of course, which it might end up as a correction, and then taking one more time the low for SPX. By all means, 0.39 is still, of course, there, or 0.40 there is still calling for SPX, and we might see a reaction there. But if we take the 886, well, you have to reconsider, of course, your bullish position there, because we are very, very close to take the low and invalidation for any kind of 1-2, and leaving us with only the next possibility, which is, of course, the wave 4 as 0.23. It can be a little bit lower, and then pushing for higher again for SPX. So two possibilities, both are very bullish, but we're very, very close to the bottom. I would say one more low is very likely, and then of course we might see something unfolding toward the upside. Yep, so that was it for XRP, BNB, and SPX 6900. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments. See you in the next one. Bye bye.